Okay.
And I just had
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
That was the only one.
Okay.
Conditional use.
I looked at the map anyway, just because I was unfamiliar, so.
See, this is
Doesn't it-
about.
The map is kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So see the dark red? That's the area that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Neither
But
one of
They're
those.
putting, what are they putting in? I thought they would be putting in, four-way stop.
So it shows it. Let's see.
Okay,
So
I couldn't find it.
Well,
right here,
there's,
right there, there's 4 dots.
if people
1,
want to
2,
buy
3.
now, the
Oh, okay, well, let me get my magnifying glass.
couple of them are resigned, and we have a building B in his house.
Fortunately, they don't make the
We're
big-
assuming the area of-
Okay.
You see it now?
Yeah, right.
Um,
So we could do that to a state highway?
Yes, they said they had come back and said that we could do whatever we needed to do to make safe.
Well, yeah.
They have to put the stop sign. There's no parking.
Okay.
And the stop signs have to be supplied by DOT or big form, but it has to be their specific signs. You don't know any signs on Broadway, like all state signs.
Interesting.
Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. Welcome to a regular meeting of the city council. Shelley, would you please take roll call?
Steve Johnson.
Here.
Leon Wheeler. Here. Lauren User.
Present.
Ellie Casey. Here. Andy Holmes.
Here.
Danielle Covenant.
Here,
And Mylan Walling.
Here.
Great, thanks. We have a full council. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's closed public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment on an item on our agenda? Yes, please step forward and state your name and area of residence, please.
Okay, my name is Sharon Kindler and I'm a resident on Collins Street. I had heard that you guys were considering no parking on either side of the street. I would like to object to that. I approve the no parking on the hospital side, but since I live on the other side, we can't have company, we can't right now because the hospital people park on our street, but even if we had somebody for repairs, like last week, I had Chris Wild come to work on our heat pump, he had to park clear up the street and then walk down. So it's an inconvenience, but we've lived there 51 years, so it's never been like this.
Yeah.
And it's only because the hospital added on, and so now there's people that kind of live on that or work in that area and feel like they need to park closer. But the hospital told me they provided employee parking. They just haven't forced them to use it.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, please step up and state your name and area of residence, please.
Yeah, my name's Chase Ogden. I also live on East Collins there. Now, yeah, as far as the elimination of parking, I understand it's a tight area and everything, but the idea of closing the entire road to parking, kind of the same point she said, I wouldn't be able to have anybody to the house or anything like that. And yeah, it's a congested area, but I don't think closing it to parking, maybe as a compromise, we close the hospital side and still provide the opening for the trucks and stuff, but it wouldn't impact the residents quite so hard.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else here or on the line that would like to make a comment? Nobody's hands up or on the line? Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And that's approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda and the agenda as presented.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda and the consent agenda. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item under department reports. And we'll start over here with Chief of Police Mike Smith.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This update on February's stats, we had 270 calls for service. We had 14 arrests. That comes with February's only has 28 days in it. We were 20 calls more than we were in January. So we're seeing a progression of calls to service. So things are still getting busy. Also, I had a conversation, and if you guys remember, probably 6 months ago or so, Flock Cameras came in and gave a presentation about the cameras that Flock company offers with license plate reading. They do have an update to their systems. They now provide, they have 24-hour surveillance cameras through their company. What those do is you can put them in your parks. We talked about having camera systems in our parks with that. With the Flock system, it would go right to a mobile app, where every officer would have access to that. They also, you can manipulate the camera from your app and zoom in. For that, they hold all the recordings. So they also have a part of their system is public disclosure. This, the people can go in and look and see what the cameras are on at any time that's available. So we don't have to hold those records. We don't have to do the submit for records to hold that person. It is the same price as other camera readers. I think it's $3,000 a year per camera. And so that's just something I talked to the mayor a little bit about today. And so we're just kind of getting everybody an idea of that. I'm still looking into, how many we need, things like that. If it is, worth the thing, it's like $8 a day, pretty much what it comes down to for having, if we had like 5 cameras at the Flock cameras, the license plate readers at the intersections or the off ramps of the highway. I know last week we had a U-Haul truck that was stolen, brought into Golden Dale. If we would have had a Flock camera, we would have been able to get notice of that stolen vehicle. It would have pinged our system, gave us attention that that vehicle was entered town, what time it entered town, which would help us investigations.
So it pings your system automatically, or it
Yeah,
just
so the way
records it?
The way Flock works is it records that and comes in and automatically sends us an alert that that license plate was stolen. It's attached to a stolen vehicle, or it also does for Amber Alerts, so children missing, it'll send out hits for that. Amber Alerts for elderly people that, with Alzheimer's come through. As soon as they come through one of these cameras, it will automatically, if we're signed up to that program, give us an alert that that car was at that area at what time, to allow us to get up and solve that. So, and it ties us in, it gives access to the Yakima Valley cameras. So if somebody stole a car here, we're plugged in, if you drove to Yakima, you're gonna get picked up there. They're gonna alert us, say, hey, your stolen car was from Goldendale. It just went through this intersection, this date and time. And, alerts all law enforcement for that. So
What about Oregon with the Dalles?
Oregon, the Dalles, they have some, I'm not sure how many the Dalles has.
No, I mean, would you be able to connect in with them?
If they have the Flock system cameras down there, anybody with the Flock system.
Oh, okay.
Arizona, there's 1 million of them down there.
Yeah.
I think there's 40,000 of them throughout the
Oh,
United
okay.
States right now.
Okay.
And so they're tied in. Once you have
Yeah.
your system, you could get an alert from wherever if you wanted to, but
All right, well, this has been something that, excuse me, it's been something I've been wanting to see for a number of years. To have the cameras would and be able to see it in the vehicles, and then I assume then you would have one right in your police station.
yeah.
The screen, I mean,
Yeah. You'd be able to pull it up on your computer, the police station,
Right.
your mobile app on your phone, the inline
Yeah,
computer, the
yeah,
car,
okay.
so.
no, I think that's a big plus, I think it really is,
Especially for the parks, I know.
Mhm.
yeah, right, yeah, I'm very supportive of really looking into that.
How is the system to control the streetlights working? And I asked that because we also talked about, having security cameras through that system. They offer a variety of different things. And so since we already have the streetlight system in place, would that be a good one to use? So I guess 2-part question, is the streetlight control system working well? And maybe just consider evaluating adding on to that system instead of going with a different separate system to manage.
With the Flock system, the city wouldn't own the cameras, so all the maintenance fees and that are done by Flock. If we have a problem, they come out, fix it, they install them, they do all that. If we go with a different system, we may have different maintenance costs accumulated with that, and the fact that our public disclosure, if the city owns that video, then the city's responsible to have somebody do that public disclosure, which right now with our body cams is very time consuming. I don't have the staffing to do that, so.
Yeah, just make sure we compare several
Yeah.
systems and choose the best one, not just the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and that's why I made no decisions yet. We're just,
think it'd be-
I know, so.
I think it'd be definitely worthwhile for us to do some further research and maybe make a presentation to council in the future of the options there. I know it's been over a year or two ago that we had that presentation from Flock, but
And I'm not sure who does the lighting system.
I don't remember the name, but if we don't know how that's working, it'd be great to get an update.
okay,
Cause I'm not even sure how to, I know when the lighting system first came out, there was supposed to be, I know administration talked about to have access for us to be able to light up a whole neighborhood if we wanted to.
Yeah,
And I've never had any,
yeah, can we follow up on
I
that
have
too?
no
maybe?
idea.
yeah,
That'd be
So
reasonable.
we got, you know,
great. That'll cheap.
That's all I got.
Thank you, appreciate it. City Administrator Sandy Wells.
I gave you guys a couple packets there, a couple months ago, we went through and talked about getting a hearing examiner. And so we did actually get one application in today, for that hearing examiner, so that'll probably come to you guys on the next council, and then so I included that to you for your review. And then the ordinance that we already had gone over, with you guys for consensus to hire a hearing examiner. And so we put it out for a few months. This was the only one that we've gotten back so far, so. So is that for your review?
Yes.
I think it's great that we're got a response and we have the opportunity to maybe move forward with this, but what resources do we have to compare the cost that's proposed since we don't have multiple applicants?
So I talked to Quinn Plant today and he said that he's seen them anywhere from 200 an hour to 400 an hour, and this one was 275 an hour. It looks like the two attorneys that are with this law firm, they did put their resume in there and they are hearing examiners for other cities. So, and it sounded like they had pretty good recommendations as far as what their qualifications are and what they've done in the past or. So.
Look great. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Sandy?
No, that's it. Oh, we did have a meeting about the sidewalks. You've gone over, seeing if we could get a grant or something. We did end up getting an RCO grant. There's no matching funds for it. But for us to do basically a mapping system of our sidewalks. They will, basically we go out and kind of do there's a app that they put it on. So that way, in the future, if we ever were to get a sidewalk grant or a street grant where they're talking about the sidewalk, it'll already have how the sidewalk is, the size, if there's a lift on it or anything else. And so it's basically, this system is for future grants if we need it. So it seems to be a pretty good program. Once they put it in, we have access to it. Public Works can help put that in. They said it just takes a couple weeks. So we're still in the process of getting that organized. Yes.
How long will we have access to it?
They said forever. They
Okay.
didn't say that it would.
I just
go
want to
away
make sure that there was no
anytime
time.
soon. Doesn't cost anything to have the app or the program once you stick it in.
Perfect.
It was something that is it RCO that Adam Fisk works with that. And so he helps us with some of our other grants that we've gotten. And so he said it's kind of like a pre-approval for some grants that you get.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, once you have this in place, then we could look at this. So.
Good step towards.
And so it does an overview on spot, on site.
Just on the sidewalks.
View on
Yep.
the Sidewalks.
Yep, that basically would show if there's any sort of elevation on the sidewalk, and so they just have to go out and do measurements and put that in there and put in pictures and,
Oh, there is pictures.
yep. Yep, and so if they say, well, we got a TIB grant for, we had just got one for Darling Street, if there was a sidewalk there, then they could pull that up and get the information from the existing sidewalk and use that towards a street grant. So they just said it's just one of those things where a lot of engineers like that system. And so it's just a good, stepping stone.
Would that pertain just to existing sidewalks or?
Yes,
But if we had a project where there is no sidewalk and we want to put one in.
yeah, this is just existing
existing,
sidewalks.
okay.
If there isn't, and then I guess I'm not sure if the map will show if there's no sidewalk, if you just put that information in that says none and put a street view. He didn't say that, but it's fairly new, so.
My understanding is just that, just existing sidewalks, and we'd have to map them all out. And then it goes into that database.
Good to do that,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Great, thank you, Sandy. Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, council business under H1. The interlocal agreement between the city of Goldendale and Klickitat County for district court services. Attached is the interlocal agreement. And there were no changes to this contract from last year other than the dates. The terms of the new contract is for 2025 to 2027. Last year's contract is attached to the packet.
I'm,
Go ahead, you can move, Lauren.
Yes.
I'll second you.
I moved to authorize the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between Klickitat County and the city of Goldendale for district court services.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Move on to the next item on the agenda. Under H2 is the interlocal agreement. The STP traded dollars between Klickitat County and the city of Goldendale. The STP traded dollars between the county and the city. The county receives funding through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and is administered through the Department of Transportation. When Klickitat County expends funding for certain projects, money is distributed to the city. These traded funds received by the city can only be used for transportation improvement purposes. In the past, the city has used funding from this source for matching funds on TIB projects.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement for distribution of surface transportation program funding between Klickitat County and the city of Goldendale.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, Steve.
Is this renewed on a yearly basis?
Yearly basis, yes.
so, excuse me, so the figure is 29,000, did I read that right, or?
That was for the court services.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good,
The
okay,
STP fund, I don't know what it is. this
Oh,
year, so We
okay.
haven't gotten that.
Oh,
It
okay.
varies every year.
It's
Percentages.
in percentages.
yeah,
And that has not changed.
gotcha, okay.
Basically, we just need the council's approval to collect this money. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, under H3, East Collins Parking and Traffic Control. The Public Works Committee recommends eliminating parking on East Collins between the Roosevelt intersection and Sanders. They also recommend turning the intersection of Roosevelt and Collins into a four-way stop. The committee would like to have a public hearing on this topic.
I move to hold a public hearing on the topic of eliminating parking on East Collins between Roosevelt and Sanders and turn the intersection of Roosevelt and Collins into a four-way stop. And consider allowing parking on the south side of Collins or allowing parking on the south side of Collins with extended sight distance from the corner.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
With what Lauren just said, I was gonna object to that, but I agree with the parking on the south side.
As do I. So as long as it's not how it's written in here and it's how Lauren said it, then I also agree to a
Yeah.
public hearing.
I agree with the amendment.
Yeah. And I also want to mention too, I think on that block, that four-way stop is gonna eliminate a lot of the problems to begin with.
Mhm.
So just my opinion, I think we should start there before we start eliminating parking.
And that's why.
Because that's the main issue I know I've had when I drive up to that intersection is you can't look down, you can't look eastward if you're heading north.
And of course, this motion isn't to
Change it.
do it.
Is to have a
This
public
motion is
hearing.
just to
Yeah.
have a public hearing so that we can let everybody who would be affected by this know that we're gonna have a public hearing to discuss it, and then we'd move from there. So Yes, Laura.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Dave, because that wasn't my intention to say one way or another, but just to make sure we address some of the concerns we've heard this evening.
Yeah.
We'll have that public hearing, take that feedback and continue a conversation about the best solution.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mayor, do we have any idea when we be having these public hearings?
it would be incorporated into a city council meeting,
Yeah,
but we'd need to have ample time to notify all those affected, so.
right, okay.
I would say probably not the next council meeting, but maybe the first in April,
Mhm.
like April 7th.
Yeah,
We could probably get the notices out before then and get that all.
Yeah.
Because we'll basically send it out to all the residents on that road and probably like most hearings within 300 feet.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Could we have another ordinance committee meeting to line out a couple of these options and have Chief Smith present to talk about the ability to even enforce a short-term parking situation?
absolutely.
That way we have that all lined out. for the-
Before we have the public hearing. Can we get that set right now?
So
Ordinance committee? And Chief Smith,
Should we do a vote first or or is this all discussion with that?
we should do.
I don't know, just asking.
We do have a motion and a second on the table. Anybody else would like to comment on this subject that hasn't had a chance to comment yet? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now let's go ahead and set up that ordinance committee meeting so we all have it on our calendar.
I have availability this week, but not next week.
Okay,
I have one on my calendar for Saturday, March 8th at 5:30, but I'm guessing that is an error.
you're on tomorrow, and Wednesday, correct?
right. Is anybody available on Thursday
Or Monday the 10th?
or Monday the 10th?
Thursday works for me.
I'm pretty Thursday.
Thursday?
On Thursday,
Ordinance committee?
6,
Thursday the 6th?
Okay,
5:30?
5:30, Ellie?
Yes,
5:30
This Thursday or next Thursday?
this
this
Thursday
Thursday? Okay,
at 5:30.
Yeah.
And then the public hearing should be good for April 7th. Which will be our normal city council meeting and starts at the same time.
okay, great.
April 7th.
Okay, thanks, everyone. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is West Broadway parking and traffic control. The Public Works Committee recommends eliminating parking on West Broadway and turning the intersection of Broadway and Mill into a four-way stop to help with traffic control. The committee would like to hold a public hearing on this topic also.
And we did, just for information, call DOT and told them about that. You know, the parking, they did say, is up to the city, but the sign isn't. So we do have to have approval once we hold our public hearing and make our determination. We do have to send that to them for approval for both of those things. I did ask Public Works about the signs on Broadway. They are all owned by DOT and they have to be their approved signs. So we don't, their signs are different sizes than what our normal resident signs are. And typically they order them and they put them up. So that is another thing to consider when we,
They explained to us that we would just have to explain, you know, why it's a public safety issue and why we would want a stop sign put there and they would move forward with their procedures. Daniel?
So is this one also just for the public hearing, not to talk about just eliminating the West Broadway parking? Correct. So it could be either way. So this needs to be changed the way that the motion is also, right?
To hold a public hearing.
Yeah, I say, okay, I move to hold a public hearing on the topic of West Broadway parking and to turn the intersection of West Broadway and Mill Street into a four-way stop. All I did was took out, eliminating.
I'll second that. I guess it'd be too much to have both this in one meeting.
Well, not if we're doing it on a regular council meeting, I think it probably.
Oh, this
best
would
to
be in
have-
regular? This
Well,
would
the
be,
other one's on a regular council, it's
Oh,
probably
okay,
best to
right.
break it up,
Yeah,
otherwise it
no, it
might
would
be a
be.
4-hour meeting.
Yeah.
okay, I was thinking about another ordinance meeting.
Well, I think changing that language doesn't represent the decision of the ordinance committee. So the
Did
recommend,
they say
the
both sides?
the recommendation from the ordinance committee was to eliminate parking on West Broadway. And so in the process of having that public hearing, then that's the discussion about alternatives or concerns that come forward, and that can change through that process.
So we need to word it similar to the last ordinance or the last,
Well, you could make a motion that adds on to it, but changing the actual language
yeah, but that's what we did the last
Doesn't-
one. though.
doesn't reflect the suggestion from the. ordinance
Okay, so
So how'd you word the last one then? Because that's what we need to do with this.
I
one, too.
simply acknowledged the public's comment and made sure that we were gonna look at the considerations of the public brought forward tonight, but when we hold a public hearing on Broadway, if there's public that has other concerns or issues, we can address that then or subsequently.
So in addition to what I said, to also look at other possible parking solutions.
So do you wanna just redo your motion?
I move to hold a public hearing on the topic of eliminating West Broadway parking and or elimination on one side of the road or other alternatives, and to turn the intersection of West Broadway and Mill Street into a 4-way stop.
Okay, that was a friendly amendment to your original motion.
Yes.
Would you like to second that amended motion?
Oh, okay, yes, I will.
Okay, now we have an amended motion and a second. Further discussion. Anybody who hasn't had a chance to discuss make a comment, like to? Anybody else that has already made a comment? Yes, Lon.
So we would add this topic to our ordinance committee meeting.
Yes.
I was curious about the stop sign. I know there was some discussion, the one on Mill, because it is a state highway, the flashing light type thing, or,
That would all have to be approved.
and then that would be through DOT.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
We can always put that in our request,
okay.
Mhm.
but
And if that is in the request, I just asked the ordinance committee to please look at the different costs that it would cost to incur for our city, whether it be the flashing lights or the stop signs. And to bring those forward at the hearing.
Okay,
As far as costs go, DOT is,
We still have to pay DOT. They're their signs. That's what you said, right, Sandy? They're their signs, but we would have to
I
pay.
didn't say that, but I would imagine that they're not gonna pay for that on their own, but
they
That
just have
is-
to okay it,
they have to pay it.
but we have to pay.
He didn't say that they pay or we pay, he just said, send us your recommendation of what you're doing. And then they will send it to their traffic person and then get back to us.
But they currently own the ones that are there now.
Yes, all of Broadway
They
signs
own.
are owned by DOT.
Okay, so maybe we can request.
We can put anything in there and then they can, once we have our final decision,
Yeah.
we'll put it all in writing, send it to them, and then they can approve that portion or not.
Okay, that was my own.
okay. Anybody else? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, thanks.
And do you wanna set that public hearing for maybe the 21st of April? I just wonder if that would be too much for a regular council plus 2 public hearings.
let's get her done.
So you want it the same night?
Both public hearings?
Anything after 2 hours then or past 8, then they have to make another motion.
No, I meant for the April 21st is what I
Oh,
meant.
April 21st? Okay, I thought you meant the 7th. Okay, so the public hearing for Broadway parking will be April 21st.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thanks, everyone. We'll move on to the last item on council business. And that's the lodging tax application funding recommendation. The events committee has reviewed this submitted application. The events committee, recommends a fiscal impact of $3,900 for the car club to have the car show as defined in.
I move to approve the funding of the lodging tax application as presented.
Second.
Oh, we have a motion and a second to approve the funding of the lodging tax application as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to report of officers. And let's start over here on this end. Steve Johnston.
Quiet tonight.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor.
Theon.
I don't have anything tonight either.
Thanks, Theon.
No report.
Ellie.
No report.
Andy.
When was it, last week before we went to Olympia for the AWC thing we did up there. It made me really think about being on city council and, you know, I'd never been up there to do that, and it was really cool to be there and see how our government works, and yeah, it was good. That's all I got.
Thanks, Andy. Danielle.
I just wanted to add on to that because Roger had asked for a little bit of an update. So basically what we did is we were able to meet with District 17's two representatives, the senator, or District 17 senator, and the governor's assistant, and numerous other people, but those were the key players that we were able to talk to. And what we told them about what the city was really going towards in their goal is for public safety. We were able to voice our opinions on which way we were wanting specific things to go. 5060 SB, which is the Senate Bill 5060, is for a $100 million grant to hire new law enforcement officers. They were really, really interested in hearing what we had to say about that. And right now it is still on the table. It's one of the few bills that's still there, and it's gone past, so it keeps on moving forward. This could be a really good thing for us. So if you have, or anyone listening to this, wants to see more law enforcement officers, since we've been shorthanded by 10% to 40% for the last 20 years, this would be a good opportunity for you to voice your opinion to our representatives. There's also different things happening. We talked about the public safety, but we also talked about big government overreach, specifically state overreach into the small rural communities compared to the ones in the bigger cities. And it went over very well. They were wanting specific ideas and thoughts on what affected us specifically when it would incur more cost for us for small things like administration things that big cities, it doesn't affect at all, how it would bring us to our knees if we were to implement certain things. They were also wanting to work with us on doing a few different bills and showing us how to do the different bills. Our senator's aide was phenomenal. And she said that she would come out here and speak with us and help us out. And then ending every one of those meetings, we invited them to come out here. All of them were very, very interested in coming out to community days. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to be sending them a formal invite to that. And other than that, it was a pleasure being out there with all you guys. You really made me proud. It was awesome.
Thanks, Danielle. Mylan.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
continue on what Danielle said. It was a very good conference, and the main thing, and I felt that the opportunity for our local legislators to meet with us, and they now know who we are, and we have invited them to come to Goldendale, to either be at the conference, or not the conference, but
Community Day.
Community days, and we may, prior to that, there may be some meetings prior to that, and then we're also then looking at our congressional staff to come down sometime, and it's gonna be, again, it's probably gonna be in June, at least June, may come a little earlier, but I'm not too sure yet. I got a phone call today from Congressman Newhouse, staff person, Dallas, and she talked about a grant we gotta get in. I don't know if you had a chance, Mayor, to look at that, or
Yes, I briefly looked at that email.
when was the deadline on that? There was,
I'll have to look at that.
yeah, well, anyway, it's something that I
In
don't know.
March 25th.
Oh, 25th, yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, just, at least they contacted us and gave us a heads up that this grant was available. If there's anything that we can use, yes, that'd be great. But then anyway, at least we got the information that we could.
Yeah, my understanding of it, it wasn't so much a grant, but a request for appropriations.
You're right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, I guess that's all I had to say, Mayor.
Thank you, Mylan. And under the mayor's report, I'll echo what everybody talked about the AWC City Action Days, and just to add on to that a little bit, the conferences and classes were very informative and eye-opening as well. It was nice to communicate with other small cities our size and sharing our different struggles and our shared goals. That's why it's really nice to be a member of the Washington cities. Every city in Washington State's a member of this, and it gives us a chance to lobby together on shared concerns. So that's what I thought. I think everyone that attended really got a lot out of it. It was worthwhile. Money well spent. Well, thanks, everyone. That's all I had, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda and open public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment on any subject?
Roger.
Roger, yes, thank you, sir.
Well, actually, I'd just like to congratulate Danielle. Thank you for the report. Actually, I should give you a byline on the story when I write it, but I really appreciate that. And I'm so glad you guys were able to make that contact, because when you're real people, real faces, it's a lot easier to think about helping you out than if you're just some name on a map. Thanks.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Anyone else on the line or in person that would like to make a public comment? Nobody else has their hand up? Great, thanks. We'll close public comment and I'll entertain a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Well, that's our meeting.